Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of SASEtalk. This is episode 14, and today we will be covering the last minute job hunt. And today we have a very special guest today. Today we have Alex. I will let her introduce herself, but she is our guest today, and she will be talking about her experiences with the job hunt.
Hi, my name is Alexandra. I'm a junior computer science and math dual major. I'm actually on my away semester right now.
Okay, that is awesome, right? So, away semester, what's going on with that? How you doing? How's that dealing for you?
It's going well. I'm currently a co-op at FM Global, and then this summer I'll be at Amazon.
Wow, that is a really busy schedule for you then. So what's a day today? What are you working on right now? So I mean, I know this is a Sunday, right, today. So but what does it look like for you, during the day? How is that, working on a co-op or an internship while being remote, first of all, during a pandemic? How does that look like for you?
It's interesting working remotely. They sent me a laptop and a keyboard and a mouse, but we usually start the day with stand-ups because we're doing like the sprints and agile sort of format for the company. And essentially in the morning, we just go through our projects and we have our 2 week sprints. Right now, I'm mainly working on websites, so it's interesting for me since I haven't had much experience with websites before.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. So tell me a little bit more. Like, what's your role in you said FM Global? Is that the company you're working for? Yeah, what's your role right now?
Yeah. So the position is a technology co-op. We mainly work with like helping the marketing team. So we deal with the public websites, the internal intranet. Um, right now we're doing a complete like reskin of the website. So changing it from like maroon to a new purple color. Um, we're working directly with the design people uh, in order to match it up to what they had in their design PDFs.
Yeah, okay, wow, that sounds so. I have to ask, right? So I've heard stories of these people, receiving laptops, receiving the monitors, and all that from the company. Do you get to keep that afterwards, or do you have to mail it back to them?
I'm pretty sure I have to mail it back. They sent me like the
That's
boxes.
unfortunate. Oh man, like I always thought like you get to keep it. Like the company, they got a lot of money. It shouldn't really matter. Let me just keep this free little laptop and the monitor. I'll take anything. But yeah, no, so this role, I mean, it sounds super technical, right? So is it, and you said what was the name of the role again?
Well, it's technology co-op, but I work with the marketing team, so we kind of like work on the website, public websites, and the global intranet. Uh,
So yeah, so tell me what's like a project that you're currently working on? Because I'm sure a lot of the people listening in, they probably don't really know, what is an intranet? Like what the hell does marketing do, right? So what's like a project that you're currently working on?
mhm. So we have this website called Global Port that essentially all the employees use internally. We have like the global navigation set up so we can connect all the different websites from the different departments together. And so right now we are working on reskinning the website to change all the different colors, the styles, and design of the website. Um, and then like before this sprint, I had finished working on a page to have like employees ordering like business cards and they'll still have like the preview of what they're ordering. Um, it used to have like the old designs of the business cards that they were ordering. So people were always like really confused because they're like, oh, I'm getting this business card. And then when it comes in, it'll have a completely different design. So we had to change that. Um, and yeah, that's out in production already. And then um, the current project will be on the public websites. So like once that's done, that'll actually be out in the open. You guys probably could see that once that's done.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's a lot of different projects you're working on. I mean, I can't even imagine working on, something, so many things on that at the same time. So how is that like, right now working from home? I assume you are from home and, working, I assume with other people, during a pandemic. How is that handling for you? How does that feel?
I think it's going well because how they structured it, we have our stand-ups in the morning. So if there's anything that I need to bring to the attention of the team, we also have like a parking lot section after stand-up. So if there's any like big discussions, I can reach out, and I constantly message my teammates. That they get tons of messages from me because I ask a lot of questions. Um, Initially, I was a bit nervous about asking questions because I thought like, what if I'm like asking them too many? But they seemed pretty chill with it, so I became more open about asking questions, and it got a lot better.
Yeah, no, I know when I started out with my internships, I was scared to ask questions, but then at the same time, it's like I gotta ask these questions, or I'm gonna sit here like an idiot, not knowing what the hell I'm doing. And no, I think that's completely reasonable for anyone though starting in a new job to feel a little bit awkward, right? Like, would you say you felt a little bit awkward at your job when you're just starting out? And I can't even start to imagine how it would feel to, start a new position during a pandemic when you're not, physically next to other people in your little office and, you're sitting there in the Zoom call and they're feeling a little bit awkward. You don't really know these people, right? Did you
Hmm.
get that feeling when you first started?
Initially, yes, but they had it so that every single person on the team set up a one-on-one call with me. So I got to at least talk to them one-on-one at least once. And then after that call, I felt more open about talking to them and asking questions. Um, and so because of that, and since we have like such like a close knit team, like I was able to talk more to them, even though we are virtual. Um, our team is very chill. A lot of people send memes into the chat.
And that's how you know the team's gonna work well when they start sending memes to each other. You know that's gonna start working very well.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So tell me, how did you find this role? I mean, I know a lot of people are having some difficulty, varying levels of difficulty finding any jobs or any roles during the pandemic. And I think whoever finds jobs, everyone's very lucky, and it's very exciting to be able to find a role during this whole situation. So how did you find your role, right?
Mhm.
And was it how different was it compared to say pre-COVID times?
Mhm. Yep. So essentially, this year I spent as much time as possible in the career fair, but additionally to that, we had Grace Hopper, and the CS department sponsored a lot more of us to go to Grace Hopper because since it was virtual, a lot of the fees were like dramatically reduced. So with Grace Hopper, yes, even though it was virtual, it was a little bit weird because I had a bunch of things like on top of each other in the schedule. Um, I went to as many events as I could, and I've reached out to like every single person I talked to. Um, because in every single conversation you have with someone, you have to make sure that you are able to follow up after, um, reach out to them in the future. And then a lot of the times with these conferences, there are um, applications for jobs that are specifically for that conference. So those job applications are only for people who attended that conference. So that pool is a lot smaller than it would be for like a more public job application. So I made sure to look for those for Grace Hopper, especially since it's such a big conference and like it's such like a close knit network. And then for different groups like Facebook groups, LinkedIn, and so on, I made sure to talk to people, connect with people through those networks virtually.
So yeah, no, I mean that's absolutely amazing, right? And I completely agree that joining all these different groups, joining all these different conferences and opportunity sessions, I think that's really great if you are looking for looking for a job, looking for really anything, right? Looking just to connect with people, learning to learn more from people, looking for a mentor to guide you through stuff. I think that's an incredibly valuable asset. But something I do want to jump into, right, is Alex, you were talking about following up with people, right? So you meet someone new at a conference and you should follow up them. You have you meet someone at a career fair and you have a little chat for about 10 minutes, right? And you follow up with that person, that recruiter afterwards. What does following up look like for you, right? How do you follow up with these people? Say it's a recruiter, say it's someone who gave a presentation during a conference workshop. What does following up look like in your perspective?
Mm-hmm. So when I talk to them, I usually ask for a business card if it's in person, or I ask for a way to ask them about that job opportunity in the future during that conversation. And then I keep track of a huge list. And with that list, I reach out and remind them about my conversation with them, so that they can remember who I am. If they forget who I am, then that conversation wasn't as meaningful than that could have been. So it's important that they are able to remember who you are when you leave them for that day. So right after that event, career fair or conference, I reach out and I say like, "Hi, this is Alexandra. I spoke with you earlier today about yada yada, and I was talking to you about this position, and I was wondering if you could tell me more about the deadlines and like the application process so that I can like get more into it in the future and so on." It really depends on that position and what I spoke to them about that day. So
So yeah. So what's the result? So what do you often see in as a result of you reaching out to these people? Do you find it to increase your chances? Do you actually connecting with this person? Do you actually think that it helps you in your application moving forward? What are the results from reaching out to these people afterwards? Is there any visible benefit that you can clearly define from doing so?
mhm. Yeah, I feel like it's definitely helped a lot with getting me interviews because I've reached out to so many people and they're always like, "Okay, send me your resume and we'll schedule a time to talk." And so like there are some people that I've met multiple times at workshops and career fairs, and they've remembered me from that. And so because of that, I was able to get these one-on-ones and they're like, "Yeah, I know I remembered your face." And then I could talk more about the times that we've spoken in the past. And from that, I've gotten like several different interviews throughout the week. Um, this year was interesting because since it was virtual, it was a lot easier to schedule interviews. So there was like an increased amount of interviews actually for me. Um,
Yeah, no, I mean that sounds great. So so now no, I just want to get a sense of your opinion, right? So since a lot of things have changed, right? So speaking strictly from as it is now, where did you find most of these opportunities coming from? Did you find, the most value coming from these conferences, career fairs, just by, networking through Facebook groups and whatever groups you're a part of, right? Which one did you find and derive the most value from, in your opinion?
I think that it was mainly from the following up, because like going to the career fair and the conferences was mainly for like getting your foot in the door for the conversation. But most of the conversations happened during like the follow up emails themselves and like making the connections. Um, I I did like a large diversity of all of these things, so I feel like that part really helped. Um, I connected to a ton of people through the conference. When I put like Grace Hopper on my LinkedIn bio, all of a sudden I got a bunch of connection requests coming in, and we started all these different conversations.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So, did you do anything to prepare yourselves for these, all these different interviews, all these follow-ups? Did you have to do any research? How did you prep yourself to get ready for these opportunities just to connect and network with people?
Mhm. Yeah, so when I had an interview, I would make sure I at least like knew more about the company, so I'd have something to talk about. So usually they want to see like why you want to go there, what plans you have in the future. If you don't like explain like why you want to learn things, like how open you are to learning new things. For me, definitely, I'm not sure what I want to do completely in the future. So I was like, I'm interested in learning a lot of new technologies and so on. Um, and so basically, it's important to know like what to talk about from your experiences. So, because like anything in your resume is open for questions. Um, so make sure you look over your resume, know every part of your resume. If you have like an experience that like taught you a lesson, make sure to highlight that, um, because they like people who learn things from their experiences, I feel. So that's always a very important part.
Yeah, so I mean, I also agree that there's a lot of things you could prepare and a lot of things, knowing yourself is important, knowing what's on your resume, knowing how you can talk about your experience. But one thing that I found a lot of people have difficulty with is something that you said is, no, I just gotta know the company and know questions to ask. But so how do you get through that part, right? Figuring out what questions to ask these companies, how do you do research? What do you do research on? Right? So a lot of people, what they do is like, oh, I'm applying to Google, and you can't really just Google and expect to learn a lot about what's going on. So how do you narrow down what to research in, right? Do you look at the job posting that they have and try to build your research off that? Do you look at the company, look at how people review the company, how people review the role that you're applying for, right? How does your research look like, and what's that process? Right. What
Mm-hmm.
what what kind of end goal, what kind of material are you looking for when you do say, "Oh, I do research on the company"? Well, like, what are you looking for? What information?
Yep. So I usually look for like company culture, like team dynamics. If I've known people who've worked there in the past, then I'll reach out to them, ask them what the experience was like. And from there, if I still can't find stuff done in the actual interview, I will ask about company culture and see how they've um, grown throughout the years. This year, I've actually asked a lot of like how they've transitioned into the virtual setting, because seeing how companies adapt to like adversity is pretty important. If we found that like because of COVID, all of a sudden it's like everything's super chaotic, then like they probably need to work a little bit more on that side of things. Um, Most of them are always like, "Oh, we've transitioned to virtual. It was pretty smooth and all of that." Um, so that's usually a good sign. Um, I usually ask for company culture because it's important to know like who you're working with. Like, will they be open to a lot of diversity? Will it be open to a lot of people asking questions? Will it be like super stressful, or will it be pretty open? Um,
Yeah, so building on that, right? So it's obviously, you want to look for the good signs, you want to look for the important stuff, but what are some in your experience, right? Because you've probably seen a lot of different job postings, you've seen a lot of different companies in your time. What are some of those red flags that like that's not going to be good? That's not going to be that, that's clearly a sign of bad, team dynamic. I don't want to work there. What are some red flags that you have seen in the past that have like brought up some concern, like maybe I should not apply for this company, maybe it's a little bit, I don't know how to feel about that.
mhm. Um, so essentially, I usually ask about like what technologies they've used, like if they are using something that's like super, super old, and like then you kind of like, do I want to work in that? Um, so usually I look for that. And then also like even during the actual application process, not gonna name names, but there was this one time I was like assigned for like an interview, and then I went to the interview and they were like half an hour late. And then when they arrived, um, it was with like another applicant saying like, oh, because we're late, we're going to just move yours over. And I was just like,
Really? Wow.
I was just
Okay.
like, I didn't get an email about this. So I was just like, okay, I'm gonna like keep that in mind for the future of like this application process for this job. And so I didn't take that one, obviously, but that was definitely a red flag. Because like they weren't managing the interview
Yeah,
process.
no, that sounds terrible. Not, I mean, showing up late to an interview is one thing, but showing up too late to your interview with another person, right? That's insane. That's crazy. It's like going on a date and you find out, the person that, the guy you're waiting for comes in with another dude. I'm just like, okay, what's going on here? Oh wow, that's crazy. So, I mean, that's clearly, unprofessional on their part, but how did you handle that situation?
I was just like, okay, I'll schedule another interview, talk with the person who scheduled the interview with me, because they had like someone else in like HR scheduling things. Apparently, their communication was kind of iffy. So after like talking with them, I still went on with the process because like professionalism and just it would be a good opportunity to still just like get the interview practice in. Um, but then throughout the process, I still prioritized the other applications that I've done.
Yeah, no, I mean, mentally, if I was put in that situation, I would already be checking off, like, okay, I got this next interview. I'm gonna send that email out to this other company. I would have already mentally checked out of that interview. Like, that's just crazy. I mean, I'm sorry you had to deal with that, but you would expect, companies who are hiring to not do stuff like this, to at least have, like, effective internal, communication between the HR and whoever's out hiring and interviewing people. But wow, that's crazy to hear. Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure everyone else has, crazy interview stories, but is that the craziest you've seen when it comes to, your time looking for jobs, or is there another story that's even crazier?
I think that pretty much tops it off because I
Oh
was
boy.
like, oh, there was like another applicant here. And they were like completely open about being like, oh yeah, we kind of moved yours over. And I was like, what does the other applicant think? Like, so basically they kind of showed that they messed up to both of us. Um,
Yeah, no, if I was in your shoes, I would have told the other guy, like, the other applicant, like, yeah, I don't know about this one. That must have been very awkward for everyone involved. But thankfully, that's in the past now, and now you are at FM Tech, and you've got another internship at Amazon. You said, is that correct?
yeah.
Yeah, Amazon in the summer. That's insane to think about that. You have two back-to-back internships and co-ops, lined up right after each other. So I gotta ask, what was that process like? Looking for not one but two different opportunities on your arch semester away. So how was that process like for you, specifically at for applying to Amazon and applying to FM Global?
It was an interesting process of like applying to a ton of different places. This fall, because I was like looking for an arch semester, I was just like applying to everything that I could. Um, Lots of applications went out, and I kind of like just like kept applying, kept them interviewing, and so on. And then when I got like offers, I had to decide like, hey, do I prefer like one over the other, etc. For FM Global, what was interesting is it actually went from January all the way to June 25th. But I knew that most summer internships start in June. So I had to talk with them and say if there's a possibility of shifting the end date up a little bit in case if I had another thing in the summer. And they said that they were pretty flexible with that. So that was a big plus for me uh, because flexibility is pretty important. And so with that, I decided to take that offer and then I kept applying for the summer. And with that, I just kept on reaching out to all these different recruiters that I've spoken to in the past. And they were like very staggered throughout the semester because I would get like an offer and then my friends would say, hey, you should just take that one. But I wanted to like aim a little bit higher. So I just kept on um, interviewing and then I ended up just making my final choice pretty close to like the end of the semester. But yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, no, it's this is an absolute crazy story, and I think this is awesome on your end that you're able to land two very interesting in their own right, and I would assume this is something that you want to do, working at Amazon and working at FM Tech, really great opportunities. But what made you choose these opportunities other than the fact that you're like, oh, hey, I got a job, they pay well, it's a good company? No way. Was there something that during this process that like, I really want to work here that made you choose this opportunity over the other, that made you settle into like, this is going to be my schedule for the spring. This is going to be what I'm going to be doing for the summer. What locked it in for you?
Mm-hmm. So I had worked at Bank of America in the past. And since I'm not sure what I want to do in the future, I wanted to get as much diversity in the internships I chose as possible. So when I applied, I was like, okay, so this is good. I had like something at the bank, something in insurance, and something in like specifically software technology and like software engineering section. So with that, I'm hoping that by gaining experience through these three different opportunities, then I'll be able to find out what I really want to do and just like learn as much as possible from it. For FM Global, I really liked it because they were so flexible with my schedule. And I had spoken to the manager prior to accepting the offer. Um, they usually allow you to talk to the team to see if that's really what you want to do. Um, so I found that was pretty cool. And then this fall, I had been very involved in the student community. So I thought it would be nice to first have like one that was pretty chill and then like have Amazon, which was probably going to be a little bit more hectic. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. But I'm hoping that through learning a lot this spring, I'll be able to be better prepared for the summer.
Yeah, no, I mean, we all hope so too. And no, speaking on being prepared, right? I'm sure there's a lot of information, a lot of testimonies out there speaking about like, oh, this is what I did as an Amazon intern. This is what I did, during the internship itself. But that you can easily find online. But I want to know, what did you do to prepare, prior to getting the job? Because I think once you get the job, everything goes out the window and everything's subjective to your personal opinions and your own personal experience during the internship. I want to know how did you prepare. So I want to ask you about your resume, your cover letter, and your interview, et cetera, et cetera. What elements did you think made you stand out above other candidates? In your own personal right now, obviously you wouldn't know how well the other candidates did, but in your perspective, what made you stand out above other candidates that really, pushed that marginal edge that like put you above other people that made the company choose you other than, some other schmuck that was applying?
I feel like the biggest thing that they look for is the ability to work with teams and talk to people. So my experience on lot of different e-boards for different clubs probably helped a lot. Is I've organized 3 hackathons, and this fall I was in 5 different leadership positions at the same time. So there was a lot to talk about during the interview for that. Because a lot of people say that like you need your skills and so on, but one of the most important skill is the one that they can't really teach you. It's talking to your team and being able to reach out when needed. And then also the openness of like learning new things. Um, so specifically with my resume, I always include all of my different organizations I was in. So I had my Hack RPI and ACMW and so on. Um, so I feel like with my experiences in clubs, I've gained a lot from that. Coming into RPI, I was super, super shy. So like I didn't want to talk to people, but I made myself go head first into it. First activities fair, I signed up for a ton of things, and I stuck with most of those since then.
Yeah. So comparing the differences between this year when everything was online, because I you mentioned how you were applying in the fall and COVID, no, still at the time was still very, very prevalent, right? What differences did you find in the application process, right? From pre-COVID, before everything went to hell, and no, and during the fall when everything was already well within COVID, everything was being transitioned online, and what you anticipate will be different after COVID. Once everyone has the vaccine, everything changes. Do you anticipate any changing? If so, what changes are you anticipating, um, just for the application process and job hunting process?
So pre-COVID, I had applied for Bank of America. So that was my first internship right after freshman year. So with that, I still had like sort of like the virtual interview process. So that part was still the same for me, but I know that a lot of people had to really drive or take a bus up to their interview, um, whether it was like a couple of states over or so. Uh, so that's definitely something that changed a lot since then. I feel like even after COVID is like a little bit better, people will probably still prefer the virtual interview because they found how efficient it is compared to like driving people up. Um, what was nice about pre-COVID is that you could visit the office and actually have that experience of being at the office. Because I know when I was working at Bank of America, it was really nice being in the office. I could have like a set like schedule of like when I was there and have that work life balance. Um, Virtually, it's all the work life balance is up to you. Like once you decide, hey, I want to log off, then that's when your workday ends. So I've been good at managing that by just like turning off my computer once the workday ends. But I know some people might have some trouble with deciding that cutoff time. Um, so learning how to manage that is definitely a big part of the virtual setting. Um, I feel
Yeah.
like right after like COVID is better, people still be a little bit iffy about um, just meeting people. So it would still kind of be like kind of a hybrid situation until things are like definitely for sure better.
Yeah, so I want to get your opinion, right? What do you think is better? No, and what do you prefer? personally, right? Do you prefer having everything being online and you being stuck in front of a computer screen for I don't know how many hours in a day, or would you prefer actually being able to go to the office, meeting the people in person, and making that commute? Which one do you think, in your perspective, is more suited towards you in your eyes, and why is that so?
I prefer being at the office mainly because I get that personal experience, like talking more one on one with my team. It is nice to have the flexibility to be able to work from home when needed. Because I know like a lot of companies didn't have that work from home policy prior to COVID. So COVID kind of has changed a lot of that. Because now they kind of have to have that work from home policy. So when we transition back, it's not like the work from home policy is just going to disappear. It's going to still exist somewhat in some shape or form. So I feel like companies are going to be a lot more flexible with that.
Hmm.
Um, so I feel like that part's pretty cool because I know like some people are like, oh, my job is like super, super confidential. I have to be in the office. But with people who like kind of can't, like having that flexibility is really nice. I know that for me, like on days where I feel like I want to sleep in a tad little more, not having the commute is really, really nice. But yeah.
I know, I know that feeling. I can wake up 5 minutes before I have to join a meeting, and I can still be in my pajamas. I just got to put on a little nice shirt, do my hair a little bit. But no, I definitely agree that being in the office is so much more fun, especially when the office is really nice and they made some upgrades. You can get cold brew coffee on tap. Right in the office, that's cool as heck. Or if they have a bar in the office, you can get like draft beer. In the, I'm not kidding. There was a place I almost interned at, and I wasn't 21 at the time, so I wouldn't have been able to take advantage of it. But they had draft beer, they had beer on tap, cold brew, everything. They had a huge kitchen, and you can just go in there and grab like a beer like in 10 a.m. in the morning. I'm like, what's better than grabbing a coffee? Well, coffee or beer at 10 a.m. in the morning. That's amazing. Um, I mean, obviously it's personal preference, but I just wanted to hear what you would prefer, speaking from your experience, right? So before we wrap this up, Alex, I just want to this is really insightful. Do you have any final advice, any tips, tricks, um words of encouragement, call it, right? For the people who are still, struggling to find an opportunity, for the people who are still deep in, the job hunt process, what can you say to the people listening to give them a little bit more encouragement, to give them a little bit more hope?
Mhm. Um, so make sure to like be yourself during these interviews, job applications, and make sure that you like take the time to experience like your passion through your club opportunities. Because something important in interviews is showing that passion. So like it's a lot easier to talk about your experience if you really enjoyed that experience. If you just joined something because like you say it might look good on your resume, then it's not going to be as fun to talk about it and it will show. Like it will definitely show in the interview. So make sure you explore like what's out there, and if it's not there yet, then make sure you can like build that at RPI or anywhere really. Um, but yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Alex. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on our little podcast, and it's been really great hearing your experiences and hearing what you're up to now. And we wish you the best of luck in your current internship, and we wish you the best of luck moving forward with your second internship later this summer at Amazon. right? We hopefully
Yeah.
know you learn as much as you can and everything goes smoothly on your end. I want to thank everyone here for listening. Thank you to all our listeners on YouTube, our listeners live, and our listeners on Spotify, if that ever comes to fruition. If you are listening on any of these platforms, please leave a like, a comment down below telling us what your experience was like applying for jobs. And hit that bell notification icon so you can get all our new all the new notifications about when we post our new videos. Special shout out to our sponsors, Boeing and Cigna, for making this podcast possible. Right? Thank you all for listening, and hopefully we'll see you on our next episode. Bye bye.